So I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration on how to use the brand workbook and the various exercises within this. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to File, Make a Copy, because you're not going to be able to edit the one that we've given you. And so just, make a copy of this and name it something that you will remember. Now I've done this here. You'll see that I've named it with the brand name, which is probably a good idea, just so it's easy something to jump to. The next thing you're going to want to do is go to the Share button, click on Share, and click Get a Shareable Link, and then make sure that the link is set to anyone with a link can view. It's got to be anyone with the link can view, not just people with an MSU email address. It's got to be anyone. If we can't access it, you won't get credit. And the next thing you want to do, you'll notice that the original just says brand workbook. Let's put your brand name here. If it's a little long, you can stretch this out so that we know whose workbook this is. And so you'll notice that this is just a Google Presentations slide, but what it means is you can kind of go through and fill out the various information. This is mostly just so that you can walk through the exercise and have some brainstorming techniques to help define your brand that you're coming up with in this class. And these are very similar exercises that you would go through if you were working with a branding company or if you were running like an internal branding campaign. Every company kind of does their own thing, but these are the sort of exercises you'd be going through. So there's a lot of really good experiential value in going through these exercises and kind of experiencing what it might actually be like. Now, the first slide is just a reminder of some of the things we talked about in class about what makes up a brand. So a brand is different than a company because there's a lot of meaning associated with the brand, and that's where we start. So we're looking at why does this brand exist, which is really just a combination of what are the beliefs and values that the brand holds. So brands at their core are a collection of beliefs and values, and then on top of that, there's some more specific attributes like what is the personality of the brand? Like that's the brand voice. Is this, brand very upbeat and funny and witty, or is it more reserved and serious? These are sort of things that we start to tease out. And then based on that, what's the look and feel of the brand? So anytime there's some sort of visual representation of the brand, whether it's the packaging, the advertising, the website, all these different things, they all have, there's a look to them, and your brand really needs to have a consistent look across all these different places so that when somebody sees, some representation of your brand, they immediately associate with you. This is why you could probably spot a Nike ad even if it never had the Nike logo, or you could identify a Nike commercial that was, like a pre-roll on YouTube within a few seconds. Because they've captured this and really well defined the voice and the look and feel, and you've seen it enough times, it becomes automatic. Same with, like McDonald's. You probably could spot a McDonald's billboard from miles away. And then also, very importantly, who do you champion? So this is your target audience, but really thinking kind of beyond just like, who's the average person walking in the door? It's whose life are you making significantly better? Who are you championing and making them the star of their own movie? Because those are going to be your biggest brand advocates. Like if you look at something like bottled water, technically, I guess anybody could buy bottled water. But, the strong bottled water companies like Fiji really kind of champion a certain type of people. It's not for everybody. And that's what we're going to be looking at as well. So the first exercise you're going to be doing is finding your brand's why. So this is really kind of identifying what are your brand's beliefs and values. What does the company believe in, and how do you help customers succeed? And this can be a little tricky at first, and you're going to have to brainstorm this for your brand, kind of come up with these ideas kind of on your own. And if you think about the brands that you love, that might be a good place to start researching to kind of generate some ideas. What do these brands stand for that you really appreciate? And so in our case with Omega Athletic, we've kind of defined the beliefs of the brand as athletic clothing doesn't need to be expensive. Athletic clothing is comfortable and should be able to be worn for everyday use. We should focus on people over profits, and we should support the United States economy. And really what you should probably do is maybe come up with way more than 4, maybe do like 6 to 8 to 10 And then you can kind of whittle it down to the top 2 or 3, maybe 4 at the most. But you can see here with these whys, immediately our brand starts to distinguish itself against other brands that do similar things. Like there's some brands that believes that they should use only the highest quality material and only the most expensive manufacturing techniques, and those sort of things ultimately lead to a more expensive price. So the fact that we're positioning on it doesn't need to be expensive, it's accessible to the everyday person, immediately segments ourselves from a certain group of the target audience. Those who are just looking for, I'm going to spend $100 on some athletic pants, because that's what I believe you have to spend to get the athletic pants that are the best. That's not going to be for our brand. Instead, we want people who they're maybe looking to spend $20 to $30, but they still want it to be comfortable. They plan on wearing it every day, and they want to believe in the people behind it. And that's where we've got the people over profits and supporting the United States economy. And maybe there's a variety of different ways that the brand does support the United States economy. Maybe they can't have everything built or everything created in the United States because of the affordability piece, but maybe there's other ways that they give back. So go through and create somewhere between 5 to 10 different beliefs that your company has, and then identify maybe the top 3, maybe 4. And that's where you're going to move on to the next step, where you're kind of taking those ideas, those beliefs, and turning them into a mission statement and a tagline. So a mission statement is basically an internal statement that's used within a company to help everybody understand why this company exists. What is our mission? What are we trying to accomplish? And it tends to be a little bit longer and wordy because it's not a marketing message. It's just something for everybody else to get on the same page. So in our case, we exist to provide quality yet affordable athletic apparel suitable for everyday use while supporting the United States and putting people over profits. So that's our mission statement. And then a tagline, this isn't the best tagline. I'm sure you'll probably come up with something better. This is the marketing message. This is what's probably going to be attached to a lot of your messaging, or a lot of your messages that go out are going to be somehow related to this. And I came up with apparel for the greater good. There's probably something better, but it should be enough to give you the ideas. Now, the next step is to create your personas. Now, we talked about this in class, but essentially a persona is a fictional representation of a certain group within your target audience. So almost all brands out there have multiple different groups as their target audience. There's kind of different segments of their audience. So if we're to use maybe like the university as an example, Michigan State University, there's one core target audience that they're really kind of marketing to, which is prospective students. They want to attract high quality prospective students, and there's a portion of the brand that exists for that reason. Now, also, there's probably a target audience group of alumni. There's a certain group of alumni that they really want to connect with and stay connected with and continue the relationship with the university. And they're going to want and care about very different things and be in very different places in their life. Now, what you need to do is come up with 2 different target audience groups and create a persona for them, and which is basically a fictional person that represents that core audience. So in my case, I came up with Lisa Sabin, who is a personal trainer. Now, the idea with a persona is it really lets you create a model or an understanding of who you're trying to reach and who you're trying to target. What do they care about? What's their background information, so that you can better connect with them and build your brand around making them their champions, as opposed to approaching it from, how would you feel? Because you are never the actual target audience. So in this case, Lisa Sabin is a personal trainer at a local gym. She recently left the corporate world to pursue her passion, which is fitness and helping others feel better. She runs a wide range of classes in the evenings, but she's apprehensive about spending lots of money as she hasn't yet built her personal training practice to a sustainable point. So she wants, comfortable, quality athletic apparel. She's been wearing it a lot. She doesn't want to spend a lot of money because she's worried about money, but she also is really a passionate person, so she wants to feel good about what she's purchasing. So really just going to fill in the template here. You can see we kind of assign them some demographic information, but also think about, what are their problems? How do we help them solve it? What do they care about? What's most important to them? And where are they spending some time online? And then providing like a little summarizing quote that kind of helps you identify, quickly identify, what they're all about. Now, the next step is you can start thinking about the brand's voice. So this is the tone or the attitude of the brand. If you think about, all people have a personality, and your brand has a personality too. And so that's kind of what you're trying to figure out here. What are the characteristics and attributes? What are the adjectives that describes the personality of your brand? And this comes out in terms of the look and feel and the messaging and the tone of everything you do. So what we end up doing here is, thinking about what do we want our brand's personality to be like? Like if we could meet the brand as a person, how would we describe them? And again here, what we're going to be doing is creating a long list of the different words that could describe the personality, and then kind of whittling down to maybe the top 5, and the top 3, and then the most important word. So in our case, we wanted Omega Athletic to be witty and funny, excited most of the time, like really intelligent and thoughtful, but yet compassionate, passionate, exuding confidence, while still being open and honest, people feel comfortable really engaging with the brand. And then as we thought about it, we whittled it down and you said, what the most important attributes is competence, being compassionate and thoughtful, passionate and funny, and then whittle that down to confident, passionate, and thoughtful. Those are the most important things that described the brand's voice. The most important being passionate. And this should connect with our personas because they're very passionate as well, even, in their situations. And then we can think about, okay, so if we know what the language is like, what's the tone of the messaging, then what is the visual side? What's the look and feel? And again, this would be executed in, the social profiles. What sort of graphics are used? What's the look and feel of the website and the email template and your actual physical advertisements and your packaging? These all kind of align, and they're all going to have a similar look and feel, or they should. And similar here, you're thinking about, words that kind of describe how something looks. So potentially, you could use a lot of imagery that's adventurous, or you want it to feel really relatable, maybe down to earth, bold and vibrant, earthy, focusing on people, innovative, that sort of thing. So here we've kind of narrowed it down to, we want it to look progressive, we want it to look adventurous, we want the brand to look people first, so maybe we're using a lot of pictures of everyday people. We want it to feel relatable, but still be bold. And then whittle that down to adventurous, people first, and relatable. And then we can put all this information together into a brand positioning statement. So you'll notice in the workbook, there is kind of like a Mad Libs exercise that you can punch in the pieces that you've gotten this far with, and you'll probably have to do a little bit of wordsmithing just to make sure that it reads correctly, depending on what your mission statement is and the names of your personas. But it gives you a really good sense of like who this brand is when you finish this. So in our case, Omega Athletic exists to put people first by creating high quality, everyday athletic apparel that's made in the US for an affordable price. We champion personal trainers and weekend warriors, the idea being people who, exercise really hard on the weekend, but it's not like they're, they don't really do it during the week. Our brand voice is confident, thoughtful, and most importantly, passionate. The brand feels relatable, people-focused, but most importantly, adventurous. And then it's time to do a competitive audit. So again, this is something that we did in class. But really what we want to do is identify all the different possible competitors first. And this might be just a matter of Googling. And, if in my case, I Googled affordable athletic wear, low cost athletic wear, and just athletic wear in general, just to know what's out there, and create a list of, a handful of the top companies that came up, like Patagonia, North Face, Columbia, Old Navy, Target, Zaful, and Lululemon. And as I looked into them more, you can kind of start to see which ones are really close competitors, which is probably not like Patagonia or North Face or Lululemon, because those are premium, high-priced offerings, where we're probably closer to like a Columbia or Old Navy, Target, Zaful, because those are more focused on the same sort of segment. They like quality, but at a reasonable price. And, we then kind of reduced it to Columbia and Zaful as what we felt are the two most closest competitors. So the next and last step here is to audit the competitor. So going to their website, and you'll audit your last two, going through all their social media campaigns, figuring out, what's their tagline. In this case, Columbia's tagline is tested tough. Seeing, do they have an email newsletter? And really what you're looking for is like, what are they doing really well where you're going to have trouble competing? For example, Columbia has, if we look at their Facebook account, I think it's something like 1 million as this loads. I'll load a few of these. 1 million likes. So, almost 2 million likes and almost 2 million people following them. So, it might be really hard to compete with them on Facebook. That might be one of the things we say. So we could say here they're doing really well on Facebook. But as we're looking through here, maybe we find other ways, where they're not doing that great. What are their weaknesses? For example, we're looking through their Twitter feed, and what we see is, most of what they're tweeting is just advertising new products. So we could say, one of their weaknesses is they're not using social media really well. Like their strategy just isn't that great. They're focused more on getting people to buy than providing high quality content that people want to engage with. So you might list that there. And then, so based on those two things, you can start to see both opportunities, where are the opportunities that you can do something to best them in terms of digital marketing. Maybe it's you do a really strong content marketing campaign that's focused just on providing value. You never once even say that you sell athletic apparel, but you create all these really great pieces of content, guides on exercising, guides on how to lower the cost of your gym membership, guides on that sort of thing, maybe videos inspiring people to start working out again, or develop the habit of working out again. So you're kind of really doing the opposite of what they're doing, because they're just so heavy, like buy our Columbia stuff. And that's where you can figure out what those opportunities are. And then threats, like what about this particular competitor is going to make it really difficult for you? For example, just like the sheer size of Columbia is a threat. Like it's a massive company that you're going to be going up against, or in this case, Omega Athletic is going to go up against. That they have much bigger resources, or they already have a really large following, or we may find that their YouTube channel, they have all this really great content here that you can kind of see starting, like really high production value. So those are some threats. As a startup, maybe my brand isn't going to be able to create this level of quality production value, and because of that, maybe we have to do something differently. It'd be good to know what the threats are. And what that will do is give you a complete picture of who you are as a brand, and then what are your competitors doing, and what ideas you get from that. Where can you really compete against them, and you'll do that for both of them. And that is the brand guidebook. You'll be linking it in your assignment just so that we can see you've gone through the practice. We're not going to be grading it, so you don't have to worry about spelling mistakes and that sort of thing. But going through this process will be really valuable, and you'll find that it'll make your assignment a lot better. And this is a critical part of your overall piece of your class, because if this doesn't come together well, it's going to be hard to really do a great job on the rest of your assignments.